Hello everyone and welcome back to the EL99 coursebook. In this video, we're going to be going over the second part of Unit 5, Unit 5B. We're going to be talking about the future. And then we're also going to be talking about using will and won't for predictions. Very exciting. I'm very excited about this particular part of the lesson. Which sentence describes your opinion? Give some examples of how you feel about the future. So I'd like you to take a look at these sentences here in exercise 1 and then pause the video. Which sentence resonates with you the most? Which one agrees with your opinion? And then give a few examples of how you personally feel about the future. Again, if you're in pairs in class, you could do this together as well. Talk about your opinion and why you feel the way you do about the future. We have 3. We have I'm excited about the future, I'm frightened of the future, and I never think about the future. I'm going to take myself as an example real quick here. I'm personally excited about the future. This is the one that resonates with me the most. Give some examples of how you feel about the future. Mostly excited about the technological advancements that keep happening rapidly, might I add. But also a little bit scared of what's to come in terms of economies, housing, uh, work, jobs, things like that. These worry me a little bit, but overall, I'd still say I'm very excited of what's to come. Okay. Read the predictions. Do you think they are correct? Why or why not? Put the predictions with the date when you think they will happen. All right, so here we have a few future predictions. Do you personally think they are correct? Why or why not? So you're going to have to give a reason. And then put each prediction, give it a specific, or not, yeah, give it a year, a specific date on when do you think it'll happen. So pause the video, then read the predictions and give reasoning, and then put them in whichever year you think fits it best or when it's most likely to happen. So I'm going to start with A. Robots will be smarter than humans. Yes, I agree. Why? Because we've already had the introduction of AI last year and it completely changed everything. So I feel like it's just a matter of time before things take over. And then once you upload that to robots, they will definitely be smarter than humans. When will this be? I'd say somewhere between 2030 and 2040. But honestly, it's probably closer to 2030. I'm not even going to lie. People will live on Mars. This is a very interesting question. I think it will happen, but not anytime soon. So it's in the very, very distant future. So I'd say it's probably somewhere in like 2100 or even further. We're not close. Like explorations are going on, but it takes like I think it takes like 7 to 9 months to just reach Mars. So again, it takes a lot of time. So not anytime soon, but it is possible. I think there will be a railway between Russia and the USA. Not anytime soon. Not with the war going on at the time of this recording. Um, with the whole thing between Ukraine and Russia. So I don't think so. Maybe sometime in the future. Perhaps like 2070, maybe, give or take. Um yeah. All cars will run on hydrogen or rechargeable batteries. Yes, they will. We already have cars that run purely on rechargeable batteries, and we also have hybrid cars that run on both batteries or electricity and fuel. So it's only a matter of time before we move as much as possible away from gasoline. So yes, this will happen. When will this happen? I mean, it's already happening right now. But if it becomes like the standard, the norm, I'd say it's probably somewhere around like 2050, 2060, somewhere like that. All right. So these were some of the predictions. Maybe you had similar opinions, maybe you had very different opinions. Again, I'd love to know your thoughts. Now, exercise 3, listen to part of a program about the future and answer the questions. So it looks like we have some questions here. Let's see. I'm going to reset this. So take a second to read the questions, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be listening to a 3-minute audio, almost 3.5 minutes, and I'd like you to answer the questions and then come back and check your answers. So I'm going to let it play out. I want you to write your answers down as you go and then come back and check your answers. So let's get to it.
This week, we are looking at technology and how it will change the way we live. First, we're going to look at robots. And then we'll look at the possibility of living on another planet and the role robots might play. So, first, robots. Robots are basically computers that act like human beings. They are already quite clever, and one man thinks that one day these robots will be cleverer than humans. Raymond Kurzweil is a director at Google, and he says that by 2029, computers will understand language. They will make jokes and tell stories better than we can. They will read all our emails and everything we type. Then they will use this information to learn about us and the way we think. Kurzweil says these computers will know the answer to your question before you've asked it. But will these robots be safe? Some people are frightened about having very clever robots. But Kurzweil isn't worried. He says the robots won't be dangerous. They will be our best friends. So, what about living on another planet? And how will robots help? For many years, humans have dreamed of going to Mars, but it's not been possible, for many reasons. Firstly, it's a very long journey. Experts predict it will take around 7 months. And of course, Mars is a dangerous place. For example, there is no air to breathe. There is a lot of radiation from the sun, and the red sand that covers the planet may be poisonous to humans. However, NASA, the US National Aeronautics and Space Administration, thinks that there are solutions to these problems. NASA plans to send astronauts to Mars in the 2030s and thinks that maybe in the future people will even live there. But how will they survive? First, NASA will send robots to Mars to investigate the planet. One robot, the Curiosity, landed in 2012. Another, the Perseverance, landed in 2021. Other robots will follow. Scientists hope that the robots will bring back soil and information about the weather. The robots will even use special equipment to make oxygen for people to breathe. All of this research will help astronauts travel safely. But the first astronauts will make a very big decision. They will be away from home for at least 2 years.
All right, so that was a very interesting audio. I hope you were able to find the answers for all the questions. Let's go over them one by one. So we have, what will robots understand by 2029? Robots will understand language based on the audio. How will robots learn about us? Very interesting question. They will be able to read our emails and everything we type. Will the robots be safe? Well, this is highly controversial, but based on the audio, remember, we're getting our answers from the audio. And based on the audio, yes, robots will be safe. How long will the journey to Mars take? It takes around 7 months. How will NASA investigate Mars before humans travel there? They'll do that using robots. And finally, what big decision will the first astronauts make? The big decision is that they will be away, being away from Earth for 2 years. Okay, so robots will understand language. They will read about it. They will read our emails and everything we type. Will the robots be safe? Yes. How long will the journey to Mars take? 7 months. How will NASA investigate Mars before humans travel there using robots? And finally, what big decision being away from Earth for 2 years? All right. So this was exercise 3. Here we have a discussion or some discussion questions about some of the projects in exercise 3. So if you guys are in pairs, I'd like you to discuss these questions with each other. If you're on your own like me, you can just talk about it with yourself or pretend I'm with you and we can discuss it. So, A, do you think robots are a good idea? What are the benefits and possible problems with robots in the home or at work? Do you think robots are a good idea? I think robots are a great idea. Um, big, the benefits are the fact that you could have robots do things that are not very safe for humans. For example, things like construction work, some types of work that is, how do I say it? Very repetitive. Like if your main job is to put a motherboard on a phone for 8 hours a day, every day, it gets very repetitive after a while. And if a robot can do that much more efficiently than a human can, while sparing the poor human, I think that's a win. I'll talk about the possible problems in a second. So these were some of the benefits that make it a good idea in theory. Possible problems, well, it's a two-way street. So at the end of the day, you're sparing someone the repetitive work life, but at the same time, now they have to find another job because their job or career or line of work, whatever you want to call it, is now dominated by robots. I think we'll even see this happen in the future with programmers, some of the most highly respected software engineers. For example, you have will now be competing against each other because you had a career that was very lucrative and people employed programmers and software engineers. So instead of having a team of 15 programmers, you can now just have a team of 5 because AI will do the rest or robots in general. So that is a possible problem that causes unemployment to go up and wages to go lower. Um, what else could be a possible problem if they're at home? I feel like some of the things that people don't talk about is that some people are not very tech savvy, and having a robot at home, say for like an older person or someone that is not willing to learn how to communicate and talk with said robot, could cause problems, even if the robot means well. All right, so that was my part. I'd like to hear yours. Do you agree with NASA's idea of sending people to explore Mars? What about sending people to live there? Um, I agree with it because if we want to live on Mars, then at some point we have to send people there to explore. Although I'm not the biggest fan of them sending people first to Mars, I think we should send robots first, as was discussed by the audio above. That way, if something does happen, we have a general idea so that we are better prepared. We reduce the risk of injuries, death, and we just have a better idea. We're not going in blind. What about sending people to live there? I feel like that's inevitable. At one point or another, we'll probably be living on a different planet, or at least have multiple planets. But how far away that is, I don't know. It's definitely not going to be in my lifetime. But I think it's a good idea. It's just very distant. It's hard to think about something so far away, especially when I'm not going to be here to witness it, if I'm being honest with you. So, yeah, that was exercise 4. Now let's go to exercise 5. Let's see what we have here. Actually, before we do that, let's take a look at the focus box here. We have will and won't. We use will and won't to talk about predictions and possible future events. Let me give you an example. So right here, it says, will you get married and have children when you're older? So I'm using will to ask a question about a possible future event. Will you get married? Will you have children when you're older? The answer is going to be I'll get married, but I won't have children. Won't is the way you answer a will question about a possible future event. One more example here. What will happen in the future? Will people live on Mars? No, I don't think that will happen. So you can use will and won't to ask questions and give answers for predictions or possible future outcomes. All right. Think about your life in the year 2030. Complete the sentences with will or won't. So I'd like you to use will or won't to see some of the sentences here and think about your life personally in 2030. So, do these apply to you? Do they not? Use will or won't in your answers. Again, there's no wrong answers here, just wherever you think you'll be. For example, I will or won't live in a different country. I'll probably live in a different country myself, so I'll say I will live in a different country. I will be married. I'm not sure. Probably not. So I won't be married. C, I dash have children. Absolutely not. Um, no. So I won't have children. I dash work in an office. Yeah, I do see myself working in an office, so I will work in an office. I dash own a house. Probably, depending on the trajectory of my career and some saving up. Yes, I will own a house. And finally, I dash speak perfect English. Um, well, I hope I'd like to maintain the level that I'm at, so I will speak perfect English. Okay, so again, no wrong or right answers, just how you see your future in the year 2030. All right, see exercise 6. Give it a second to load. In pairs, ask your partner questions about their sentences. In 5, use will in your questions. So here are some answers, and I'd like you to ask questions for these answers, basically. Now, I'd like you to pause the video here because we've already done these, but use will to ask some questions for these answers. All right, so I hope you're able to ask some questions. Let's go over them one by one. So I will / won't live in a different country. To ask that in question, we'll say, will you live in a different country? B, I won't be married. The question will go like this. Will you be married? Question mark. C, I will / won't have children. Will you have children? D, I will / won't work in an office. Will you work in an office? Question mark. And then E, I will / won't own a house. Will you own a house? And finally, I will / won't speak perfect English. The question will be, will you speak perfect English? Question mark. And these are some of the questions. Okay, this was exercise 6. Just give me 1 second. All right. Let's go to exercise 7. Look at the list of predictions. So we have a few more predictions here and answer some of the questions. So the predictions are actually in in photo format. What I'd like you to do is take a look at some of these predictions here and answer some of the questions. So you have questions like, do you think these things will happen? Why or why not? So give reasoning. When do you think they will happen? So again, put a timeline on it. So for example, the year 2030, the year 2040, 2050, in 200 years, things like that. All right, so I'm going to pretend you pause the video and you have some answers. Now let's go over them together. Now remember, this is for discussion, so there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. People will live for 130 years. Do I see it happening? Yes. Medicine is slowly getting better and better. And with the help of technological advancements, I do see it happening. I mean, I think the average has been steadily going up. I think we went from living to our 60s to now 70s and 80s, and I do see it steadily going up. At the end of the day, averages will vary, but I do see it happening. When do I think this will happen? Uh, Probably in like 50 to 70 years, people will be able to live longer. But it could be a little further away. So somewhere like 2070 would be a good guess for me personally. There will be one world language. That's an interesting question. I think it'll happen, but very far into the future. Right now, I feel like there's just too much distance between countries. Every country loves its language. Yes, we have an international language, which is English, but um, with the rise of different countries being in power and stuff, different languages could take over. But there being one world language will probably happen, just not in any near future. I give it like maybe 200 to 300 years. So again, I could be very wrong, but I won't be alive to witness it. So I guess it's not too bad. What else? Computers will drive cars. Absolutely. Yes, we already have an idea of that, what that looks like now. I'm sure most of you have seen the Tesla models and the cars nowadays that help you stay in your lane and alert you when you're sleeping and basically drive for you as long as you're on a highway. We also have cruise control that has been around for a while. So yes, I think it's only a matter of time before drivers are replaced with computers. And I think on that note, this concludes the second part of Unit 5B. I hope you guys learned something new and had fun. This was one of my favorite parts of the unit so far. I really enjoyed this one. So, yeah, I will see you in the next part. Bye bye.